Okay, right. Hi, everybody. We're back again for another quick conversation
Yep.
about the never-ending discussion topic of either reducing alcohol intake or ideally quitting alcohol altogether. So, hi, everybody. Hi, Matt.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, back on another Sunday. So, hi everyone. Good to be back.
Yeah, ready to go. So this is a topic which something I have struggled with actually. I say struggled with it, but certainly thought about this one a lot over the years, and I'll kind of get into why. And it's a bit of a weird one, I suppose, slightly kind of esoteric in some ways. It's whether or not when you quit drinking, you become a little bit boring. Do you lose something? Do you somehow become less interesting, or does life become less enjoyable? And because life becomes less enjoyable, you therefore, we're all kind of mirrors to a certain extent. I think if life is fun and exciting and engaging, then you tend to be fun and exciting and engaging. And if life feels dull and boring and pointless, you tend to sort of reflect that. So, and I tell you, the reason why it has been on my mind, or it was on my mind, was because my story was that I quit for a specific reason, but I sort of always thought that I would come back to it at some point, and I told the people around me, my wife specifically, who is a very healthy drinker, if there is such a thing. Very healthy is probably a little bit of a reach, isn't it? But in other words, she's a drinker who is able to just have a glass of wine, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Doesn't
And
think about moderation because she doesn't need to moderate. Just has the odd
exactly.
drink here and there and is happy with that.
Exactly. And of course, because of that, we did have times where we would share a, glass of wine, and it felt, quite nice. And so I remember saying to her, once I've done, it was actually for me, it was selling my business. I wanted to get that done. And, I knew it would take a long time. And, in fact, it took about 5 years from the point of stopping. I said, once I've done that, I'll probably drink again. But I didn't, because I didn't want to, because of all the benefits of not drinking that we've discussed. And, just it, not having alcohol in your life is a superpower, as we've said. But I did worry that, does it, my sort of, because I do think you tend to regard social situations differently now. I certainly do. The concept of sort of just a drinks party, note the word, a drinks party. What that means is come and stand in a room with a bunch of people, some you might know, some you might not, and just get steadily more, drunk over the course of an evening. Clearly, that's not going to be particularly exciting for me. So I was a bit, I've sort of fretted on it a bit. I sort of thought, oh, just because I'm happy, come Saturday night, I'm happy to curl up with a book or put a movie on and get a takeaway, and that's the perfect evening for me. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the perfect evening for my wife or all of my friends. So it's a conversation I wanted to have. And I don't know where we'll get with it, but yeah, Matt. I mean, what any sort of observations, thoughts on that? I mean, you've I don't know whether
Yeah.
this has sort of been something you've even thought about, but we can talk more about it. I can go into a bit more detail, but yeah, let's set it up with that as a sort of starting point.
Great place to start, and thank you. I think the simple answer is yes. Right, I've thought about this a lot, and actually, we've spoken kind of off camera about these things, and so I even had a sit this morning, as I do before these videos, and thought, how do I want to put this together? How do I want to talk about this? And I think for me, it's really simple. So thinking about the title we set ourselves, which is, does not drinking make me boring? The answer to that is only to a drinker, because to everyone else, it's, why is that boring? Why is not drinking boring? I think actually, and what I've started to find, and, hopefully people out there who are thinking about reducing alcohol or giving up or have given up already, is that actually it can kind of have the opposite effect. It can kind of make you slightly intriguing and interesting. And I'll give you an example. I went to a party, a 50th birthday party 2 weeks ago, and I actually had a really good time. And I had one guy who I've known for some time actually spend probably 45 minutes with me talking about, how I gave up drinking and what it's like to live without alcohol. And, and he said things like, he lives in the south of France, beautiful weather. He's a pretty fit guy, lovely guy actually. And he was saying, he was going, oh, on a Saturday lunchtime, sometimes I'll be, the weather's nice and I'll have lunch and with my wife and, we'll have, 2, 3 glasses of wine at lunchtime. And then I sit there and think, why did I do that? Why did I need to have those, glasses of wine at a lunchtime? I feel tired afterwards, etc. So it can create really, a sense of you not being boring because it intrigues other people. And I think, define boring. What is boring? It's a bit like beauty, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I think that's how boring is. If you are a drinker and you are with someone who doesn't drink, then I can understand that you may think they're boring. If you are with someone who, like me, likes to get up on a Sunday morning, go running, have a coffee, make a video with my brother about, a topic that absolutely we're passionate about, then maybe that's not boring, and I really think that that's one of the things. It's probably the biggest thing that stops people trying to give up drinking or giving up drinking is they're believing in this utter lie that life is inferior if you don't drink. And that's understandable, right? Because we are conditioned from a young age to believe that adult life, part of our leisure time, is drinking, is alcohol, and that contributes to our satisfaction in life. And that's, to me, utterly not true. And I think I'm gonna read something out actually, and I wasn't sure whether I'd do this, but I think I'm going to. And it's actually a passage from a book by Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, I believe, and he was during the Second World War. He's a Jewish man, and he was put into one of the worst concentration camps. And I honestly, his book, which is Man's Meaning to Life. Read it. It's absolutely incredible. It's harrowing, but in another way, it's amazing because he talks about the hope that existed as well. And one passage I found that I thought was really interesting is his view on boredom, and I thought it was useful for this title. So it's kind of complex English. The man was highly intelligent, and so it may sound a bit odd, and it was written many years ago. But let's give it a go. So he says the existential vacuum manifests itself mainly in a state of boredom. Now we can understand Schopenhauer when he said that mankind was apparently doomed to vacillate externally between the two extremes of distress and boredom. In actual fact, boredom is now causing more problems to solve than distress. And these problems are growing increasingly crucial for progressive automation will probably lead to an enormous increase in the leisure hours available to the average worker. The pity of it is that many of these will not know what to do with all their newly acquired free time. Let us consider, for instance, Sunday neurosis, that kind of depression which afflicts people who become aware of the lack of content in their lives when the rush of the busy week is over and the void within themselves becomes manifest. Such widespread phenomena as depression, aggression, and addiction are not understandable unless we recognize the existential vacuum underlying them. This is also true of the crisis of pensioners and aging people. This was a book published in 1946, and it talks about that issue of free time and people not knowing what to do with it. And I think that is what makes you boring, is when you don't know what to do with your free time and you use alcohol to fill it.
Yeah, that's really fascinating, actually. And I think it's one of the spin off real huge benefits when you stop drinking that I noticed is you get loads more time. You get so much more time. And the thing that I've said in the past is that the one, really good decision that I took to stop drinking led to loads of other great decisions. I read an awful lot more, I exercise a lot more, I eat better. I've learned a lot. I think I've learned. I don't think I'd know as much as I know now if I'd carried on drinking, because you're sort of in a bit of a fog. And I suppose, you're right about the boredom, the definition of boredom and boring. It's very interesting. I think there's also a dichotomy in certainly I suffer from this. When I was drinking and I met somebody who didn't drink, I was kind of somewhat in awe of them a little bit. I remember being quite almost looking at them longingly and thinking, wow, that's kind of impressive. That shows real discipline. That shows somebody who is not sort of in any way vulnerable to this thing called alcohol. And I think when you drink, you are always a bit vulnerable to it. You're only ever a couple of drinks away from making a bad decision, saying the wrong thing, having a bigger hangover than you were, risking drinking, driving. You're always sailing quite close to the line when you drink. And I remember looking at people who didn't drink and thinking, wow, they're completely free. And just like I said, just having respect for them. Since drinking, I now, my kind of almost like my sort of go-to, train of thought is, I wonder if people think I'm boring. It's like, well, no, probably not. They probably think it's incredible. It's just you that, and I think that's another thing is that, like when we said about the stigma of alcohol, how I think sometimes we have to accept that it's sometimes what we think people think about us is nowhere close to the truth. It's your own kind of neurosis which fosters.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think I think sometimes we think that it's going to make us boring. We think that by leaving a party earlier, that makes us boring. But I can guarantee you there are some people who wake up the next day and would have wished they'd left at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night and woken up in the morning feeling great. And you know what? Again, going back to this party I went to 2 weeks ago, I stayed until 1:30 in the morning. I had a good time. And the others got back at about 3. I missed nothing. And we were at the same party. We did the same things. The only difference is that I drank a couple of non-alcoholic beers, and they drank a ton of booze. And the next day I felt bloody great. And I was up in the morning. I was out. Beautiful day in Saint Raphael in south of France. Went for a run. Came back. Cooked everyone breakfast. Had a great morning too. So you don't really miss anything. In fact, you only miss the bad parts. And trust me, you don't want to miss those. They're
And it's funny, like for example, if I think about my wife, and I've spoken to my wife about it, and she's of course she says no, not at all. I'm glad it's great, but it doesn't stop me worrying that maybe there's a part of it that thinks, oh, I miss the old Mark who would come Friday night we'd light up a couple of cold ones. But I still sit with her. We still get the time together, and whilst we might not get that sort of glass of wine on a Friday night or whatever it was. Of course, it was usually more than that for me. She does get me first thing in the morning the next day, fresh, ready to go. Able to contribute. Able to be present and part of this relationship, and there's no doubt that that's better. And the other thing as well is I think you raised it, just my sort of, I made a couple of notes ahead of this, but I wanted to make the point, and you've just touched on it there. Nobody remembers when you go to a party and you don't drink and you leave at 10:30 or you leave at 9. They don't remember. They might give you a hard time at the time when you're leaving, but they don't remember. You think they do, but they don't. I mean, I think you said something on a call recently. Nothing ever good happens after a certain point in the evening. think the older you get, that point gets lower and lower. You know,
Absolutely.
realistically, after about 11, 12 o'clock at night, nothing good does happen. Does happen. And you know what else is true? Is drunk people are fucking boring. They repeat themselves. They talk
Yeah.
shit. They
Yeah.
just are dull. And I've been to parties as well, and I enjoy them, and I have a laugh, and I feel much more me. I feel comfortable to leave when I want to go, and I wake up in the morning feeling great. And 90% of the people at the party are going to wake up the next morning and be, suffering somewhat. So
Yeah.
I think the conclusion and the pragmatism is absolutely not. In fact, the opposite. It makes you intriguing, it makes you interesting, it makes you better. But it's worth having the conversation because I'm sure, like
Yeah.
me, do worry about it.
Yeah. No, interesting, really interesting. I was just going to add a couple of things, and that's you talk about your wife Jan, and how maybe she misses it, but think back, think properly, because whilst you weren't on the levels that maybe I was, it wasn't a glass of wine on a Friday night. It was maybe half a bottle of wine, and then we'd watch a film and the whiskey would come out, and then it would be cigars, and then it'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you wouldn't be able to function the next day. Having said that, you did mention that she gets you in the mornings now, but trust me, I've seen you in the mornings. It's not all that. No, I'm kidding. But no, I think we forget. That's the other thing as well. The mind does forget. You think, oh yeah, well maybe that is sad that I can't have the odd glass of wine, but it never was like that. I know there were times when you didn't crack into the whiskey, or it was just a dinner with some wine, but you can still go and have dinner. You can still have that good time. And I know that my wife, she she just wouldn't, she asked me sometimes, she said, do you think you'd ever drink again? And I was like, no, and I don't see why I would. And she's like, yeah, I can't see why you would either.
Mm.
What would you gain? Absolutely nothing.
No, no, exactly. And that's the thing. You've hit the nail on the head. You can forget. You tend to sort of glamorize these things in your mind, but the reality is not that. The reality isn't a innocent, quiet, And also, if it's just one glass of wine, you can have a non-alcoholic beer. You can have a. You're not missing out. And in fact, the scale is so incredibly tipped in the we don't know which way to do it, but whichever way makes sense, but in the advantage, the benefits of when you quit are too many to list. I mean, we've been doing these podcasts now for a few months, and we know we're close to exhausting all the subjects and the
No, it's never ending. There's
it's
just so much.
never ending. But the downsides of drinking, I mean, I've seen friends of mine that are sort of my age who have drunk, not big drinkers. I mean, just steady, and when I say not big drinkers, but pretty much most weekends would always involve food, drink, alcohol, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, big drinkers. And not all of them, but quite a few of them are starting to be experience health problems, medication, reversal of diets. I'm not going to name any names, but this is catching up. It doesn't do you any good, mentally, physically. There's no upside here. So I think actually lean into your special power, lean into your uniqueness. It gives you a badge of honor, I think, when you're able to say, I don't drink. And yeah, it makes you who you are, and you are everything. And that's all the world needs is just you as you are, not drunk you, not pretend you, not showing off you, not, trying to persuade someone else you're a different version of you, just you. And that's what you get when you don't drink.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think, just to finish from my side, it does make you intriguing. It does make you slightly different. You kind of at a party, you can be that whoever you want, or the real you, as you just said. But you know, you are intriguing to people. You know, sometimes, like, I went to this party 2 weeks ago, and I was, you know, I made an effort. Made myself look smart. Not so easy these days, but you know, that's age for you. And you know, you kind of feel a bit sort of James Bondy, because you're just discreet. You're just like, I'm going to talk to the people I want to talk to. I don't need to. I can control all of this. I can do what I want, and it's not the alcohol taking over. It's not me saying stupid things. It's not me making false promises. It's not me being a dick. It's not me showing off. It's just me being me, and having the conversations I want to. And honestly, it's really, really liberating.
I think that's it. I think we've done it. I think we've said it. I think we can, you know, maybe we should put that in the title of the next book should be "You Feel a Bit James Bondy."
I reckon that's millions. Yeah, perfect.
That's the one. So there
Feeling
you
a bit
go.
Bondy.
Far from being boring. Your
Yeah,
007.
our job is done.
Yeah, exactly. No, look, great. I think that was excellent. I think we've covered most of the points. You know, yeah, I'll just end up repeating myself if we carry on. So I think we
Yeah,
can there and until the next one. But yeah, it was good as always.
brilliant. All right. Well, listen, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you can, and have a great Sunday, everyone.
Brilliant. Have a good one. Take care, everyone. Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.